Big night last night for the Reds as they win the first game of this series. Joey Votto, a big hit. Jay Bruce, a big hit. How about Brandon Phillips, his 14th home run of the year, all in support of Bronson Arroyo's 7 innings worth of very good baseball. And the Reds win game 1 of the series 7-2. And so today the Reds try to extend the winning streak, sitting now at 3, trying to make it 4 as they take on the San Diego Padres here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, and a pleasant good evening, and welcome to Reds baseball on this Saturday night. It is, yes, Irish Heritage Night, and we are dressed for the occasion. Jim Couch along with Chris Welsh. Well, tonight, a couple of young pitchers in the early stages of their career. That's where we'll start our coverage of Reds baseball tonight. We have the left-hander Tony Cingrani on the mound for the Reds, but let's start with right-hander Tyson Ross, Chris, for San Diego.
Well, a very talented right-hander. He's a big guy, just like last-time starter Andrew Cashner. Tyson Ross is 6 feet 6 inches tall, and he's got a very good record so far. He missed a little bit of the season with an injury to his left shoulder, but when he's come back from the minor leagues, he's thrown exceptionally well. He's got a good fastball and one of those sliders that people like to talk about being unhittable. So that'll be the big challenge for the Reds tonight as they took a look at Tyson Ross.
Now, Tony Cingrani, every time he pitches now, we're thinking, we need to get him back to how he was against the Dodgers.
Well, you're right. I mean, Tony Cingrani's got such a good fastball, and he uses it so often, and he throws it by so many hitters that you think, hey, this guy ought to do that every time out. But the problem is you're in the major leagues, and it's not always that easy. Cingrani, though, has the ability to throw it by anybody. Here's the tail of the tape between these two guys. Tyson Ross is 6'6", Tony Cingrani a couple of inches shorter, but still a very big 6'4". Tony Cingrani's a couple of years younger. He doesn't throw quite as hard, but look at the strikeouts per 9 inning. That is where the deception comes in for Cingrani. He throws that high fastball, and even when hitters know that it's coming, they still can't get on top of it.
Well, we'll hope that the Reds can make it 4 in a row tonight as they take on the San Diego ball club. Joey Votto certainly can make that go a long way. He is hot now. He seems like he's always hot in the month of August.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Good crowd gathering on this Saturday night. A little bit of cloud cover, but overall going to be a very comfortable evening here for the middle game of this series. Let's get more detail on tonight's weather, brought to you by your Tri-State Orthopedics. Here's Scott Dimmick from WKRC Channel 12.
Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Scott Dimmick. If you're heading out to GABP tonight, clouds will thin out as we get into the evening. Showers will stay to the south of the park. 80 is where we'll be at first pitch. We're down to 76 for the 7th inning stretch. 74 is where we'll be for the final out. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Well, let's talk some Joey Votto here, Chris. He has really gotten off to a great start in the month of August.
Well, month of August is the month where Joey Votto is more like Joey Votto. You see what he's done so far. 500 batting average. He gets on base a lot. He's driving runs in. But you look at his career, and Joey Votto seems to get hot as the weather gets hot in the month of August, and that's exactly what the Reds need, is a hot Joey Votto to kind of keep this momentum going and propel them into the postseason. Here's Joey being Joey in August.
Yeah, 323 average, 429 on base percentage, best among active big leaguers. When you need him most, I guess down the stretch, he has responded throughout his career, that's for sure. It is game 2 of this 3-game series here at Great American Ballpark. The Reds and the San Diego Padres. Reds trying to extend their winning streak to 4 in a row. Ford F-Series trucks, the best-selling truck in America, 36 straight years. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Book your stay at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. At American Ballpark outside and now inside. Pretty good crowd gathering for this Saturday evening contest. Reds start the day only 2 games behind the second-place Cardinals going into action tonight. Take a look at the Padres starting lineup put forth by their manager Bud Black. Former Red Kristen Orfia at the top, and then Will Venable, who led off last night. Then Chase Headley, Jesus Guzman in the cleanup spot, Yonder Alonso and Jed Jerko. And the bottom 3, Logan Forsythe, Nick Hundley, and the pitcher Tyson Ross. They will be the 9 facing off against the left-hander of the Reds, Tony Cingrani.
Now, Cingrani makes his 14th start of the year. In fact, 14th start of his major league career. He's 5-1 career-wise and this year. Of course, he was up last year. He pitched a little bit in relief, but for the most part, he's taken over the spot vacated by Johnny Cueto, and Cueto's gone on the disabled list, and he's done very well. If you look at the bottom of your screen and see that 197 batting average against, if Tony Cingrani threw enough innings to be eligible, he would rank about in the top 5 in that batting average against. That's how good he has been this year. They're just trying to get him to go a little deeper into a ball game and maybe get more quality starts and a little more relief of that relief team down there by getting some more innings under his belt.
Well, we're ready to go here on this Saturday evening. We hope you enjoy the telecast of Reds baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. The Padres, the Reds, Tony Cingrani, and to up his victory total to 6. First time he has ever faced the San Diego club, and the former Red, 33-year-old Chris Denorfia, steps in to lead it off. And the first pitch splits the heart of the plate, a strike. 82 degrees here at game time at Great American Ballpark. Denorfia hammers this ball into left, so a good start for San Diego. Last time the Reds saw Denorfia, he was getting that pinch hit 2-run walk-off home run against the Reds and Chapman out in San Diego, and he leads this game off with a base hit. Take a look at the Reds defensively behind the lefty Cingrani, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Xavier Paul the start in left, then Chu, then Bruce. Infield is Jack Hanahan and Zach Cozart on the left side. Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto right side. Cingrani throws to Devin Mesoraco. And he thought of a no-hitter out the window after the first couple of pitches of this game. A base hit in the left, solidly struck by Chris Denorfia.
Well, you already know the guy can hit a fastball. There's no question about it. I mean, when you turn around and roll to Chapman, you prove that right there. But Cingrani threw 2 fastballs. Of course, he throws 80% of his pitches as fastballs. And Denorfia showed again that he can get the head out.
Will Venable batting in the 2 spot tonight. He's their center fielder. And he's at a ball and a strike.
You know what we've really seen with Tony Cingrani in that fastball is that when he throws it down around the knees, it's more hittable. When he throws it up around the letters, that's when it becomes a pitch very tempting for the hitters to swing at, but they have a very hard time getting on top of it.
Funny, because you usually hear people say, keep it down, keep it down.
That's what most pitching coaches really have said their entire careers.
Ball went flying out of the hands of Venable. Broken bat into left, and now it gets under the legs of Paul. Here comes Denorfia being waved around third by Glenn Hoffman, and he will score. And 2 batters into this game, the Padres have taken a 1-0 lead.
Well, I'm not really sure what happened out there in left field. This ball just explodes the bat. I mean, Will Venable is left with only a little bit of a handle right there, but Paul goes over to field it and simply goes through his legs. Chu is right there to back him up to keep the runner from going into third base, but the runner from first was scored. Denorfia comes in for the first run of the ball game. Boy, just sloppy outfield play there.
Yeah, Paul is charged with the error out in left field. Give Venable a single. No run batted in. E7 and a 1-0 San Diego lead. This marks the first time now in 4 games that the Reds have actually trailed. They did not trail at all in the 2-game Oakland series. Did not trail last night. Find themselves down 1-0 here in the first. This is Chase Headley, switch hitter, turning around and batting from the right side. Their third baseman starts the game at 245. 8 home runs, 35 runs batted in. Pair of hits last night, including a walk, so he was on base 3 times. His Padres team came into this series 10th in the National League in hitting at 246, 8th in the league in runs produced, 451. So their offensive numbers are way down. The only thing really from an offensive standpoint that they have done well this year is steal bases. Second best in the National League.
Well, they play in a big ballpark that really favors pitchers. Then you lose some of your sluggers. Carlos Quentin on the DL. He went on that today. He's the one legitimate heavy hitter they have in the lineup. And you lose an all-star shortstop to a
suspension.
It's a 50-game suspension with the biogenesis mess. And Buddy Black's looking around saying the last 10 games he's only averaged less than 3 runs a game. So you got to give a little pep talk to your pitchers before they take them out. Hey, don't give up anything but goose eggs. We have a good chance of tying this game.
And even though their pitching numbers are down overall, actually lately they've been pretty good since the All-Star break. Hanahan will look the runner back. And a wide throw, and Votto has it tip right off his glove and roll into the camera well. That's going to be the second error of this first inning against the Reds. That run is going to come home from second. Venable. 2-0 Padres.
Boy, oh boy, just another sloppy play right here. Hanahan looks the runner back, and then this ball just gets away. That's not a good play at all by Joey Votto. Just a bad stretch. He didn't get his body in the right way to make the maximum amount of distance between his foot and his glove. And if you feel like the ball is going to get away from you without you touching the bag, come off the bag and catch it, and then come back and try to get it. At the worst there, you give a runner to first base. Now they've given another run in.
They're going to charge an error to Hanahan on the throw that allows Venable to come to third and then ultimately to score. 2-0 Padres. Still nobody out. Batter now is Jesus Guzman. He was on deck last night, didn't get into the game, starting in left field and batting cleanup in this one. Average .233 with 7 homers, 26 runs batted in. Last night the Padres had the left-handed hitting Mark Kotsay out in left against the lefty. Tonight Guzman gets the opportunity. There's a strike call by our home plate umpire Rob Drake. Joe West is the crew chief. He's at first. Sam Holbrook at second. Adam Hamari, the umpire, over at third. Two balls and a strike. Cingrani this year 35 walks, 97 strikeouts in 82 2/3 innings. Under Alonso waits on deck. That's what you're talking about with a fastball.
Yeah, that's his calling card right there. That four-seamer that he just runs up above the waist. And when you can get at the top end of the strike zone, a lot of pitchers can't survive there. But Cingrani has a type of fastball that really doesn't sink as much as the hitter perceives it will. That's why he's able to throw it by him up there. Kind of pushes that fastball behind it.
Chases that one way up and out of the zone. Does Guzman. He's a strikeout victim, and that finally is the first out here in the top of the first.
Now chasing ball 4, but looking for fastball up, and not much of a swing right there out of your cleanup hitter.
So a runner at second now with 1 out, 2 runs in. Here's Yonder Alonso. Lefty-lefty matchup here for the former Reds #1 draft pick. Alonso this year against left-handers hitting .269, against righties .300, so he's held his own lefty-lefty. .293 average, 6 homers, 40 runs batted in. That 40 RBI total now is tops on this Padres club among active players. Carlos Quentin 45, but as Chris mentioned, he's on the disabled list. Headley leads away at second. 1-1 from Cingrani to Yonder Alonso. Last night in the game, hitless in 4. Still up over 350 since the All-Star break. Alonso with that slightly open stance. Former Miami Hurricane player, #1 pick by the Reds in 2008. Well, a good night for the Reds here last night. They win. The Pirates lose against the Colorado Rockies. The Cardinals lose at home to the Cubs, so the Reds find themselves now just 2 games behind the second place Cardinals. Pick up a game and are 6 behind the Pirates. Pirates play later at Colorado. That's an 8:10 Eastern time start. They are underway at St. Louis. Cubs and the Cardinals there. Keep an eye on that one. They're at 8:10 tonight. Arizona. They won yesterday over the Mets. Take on the Mets in the second game of that series. The Reds stand still 4 games in the loss column ahead of that Arizona club, trying to catch the Reds for the final wild card spot. Full count. Atlanta, they won yesterday, so their winning streak at an incredible 14 games in a row. And they have, by 1/2 game now, the best record in baseball. They have surpassed the Pirates. Pittsburgh at 70-45, the Braves at 71-45, but again, winners of 14 straight and a lead of 15.5 games. Detroit, their 12-game winning streak came to an end yesterday when they lost in 10 at New York 4-3, but they bounced back today and won 9-3 against the Yankees. Some interesting goings on around Major League Baseball here in the early days of August. Mentioned Cingrani has never faced the Padres, and so there's not one player on this team has ever gotten a look at the big league level at Tony Cingrani. On the other side of things, there's not many Reds that have many at bats against their right-hander Tyson Ross.
I'll tell you one thing Yonder Alonso does, and does very well. He really makes the opposing pitcher work. He's a guy very much like Joey Votto, in as much as he knows the strike zone. He'll foul off some good pitches. Nowhere near Votto as far as his accomplishments in the batter's box yet. But the guy's making Cingrani work pretty hard right here, and Cingrani usually very effective against left-handers.
This will be the 10th pitch of this at bat. Yeah, you see the split of Cingrani versus righty versus lefty. There's virtually no difference.
In fact, it was Yonder Alonso that worked an 8-pitch walk against Aroldis Chapman that eventually led to the home run being hit by Chris Denorfia. Denorfia came in as a pinch hitter, but it was this guy that kind of led the inning off and got the momentum going in favor of the Padres.
That was the first game of the series out there. Here comes pitch number 11 now of this AB to Yonder Alonso from Tony Cingrani. Got him on the high fastball.
Yeah, the same pitch that Jesus Guzman chased. Yonder Alonso couldn't lay off. When all else fails, go right up the ladder. That'd be a nice effort right here for Cingrani to be able to get out of this inning with only a couple of runs scored. Really, he shouldn't even have that in, given the fact that the Reds have booted a ball around a couple of times in this inning.
Yeah, the way you look at it now, if you recreate the inning without the errors, both runs should be unearned.
That's the way I've got it.
Yeah. Here's Jed Jerko, their second baseman, batting in the 6th spot. Former Mountaineer out of West Virginia University, hitting .246 with 10 home runs. Runner at second, 2 out, 2 in. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Jerko a hit last night, 1 for 4. Well, he had a rough homestand, only 3 hits and 22 at bats. during their recent 4-4 homestand, but 2 of the 3 hits he picked up were home runs. This will be the 30th pitch now of this inning for Cingrani.
Yeah, that was the one thing the Reds really wanted to do with Tony Cingrani, is to get him to go deeper into a ball game. You know, he's pitched very well at home. He's had 5 home starts, and he's given up 3 runs or less in each one of those starts, but he's only pitched 6 innings once. So he's pitched well while he's been out there, but not always that deep into a game.
And a full count now to Jed Jerko. It was Cingrani who picked up the lone win in that Cardinal series, an 8-3 win a week ago today. Though, as Chris mentioned, it wasn't an overly exceptional outing at all by Cingrani, with 5 walks in 5+ innings. Hard to center. Chu will reach up and make the catch. On the ball, hit hard by Jerko, and so through all that, 2 unearned runs across for the Padres. The American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 175 countries and abroad, ships at sea. They're watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. We tip our cap particularly to those folks around the country tonight and the world watching Reds baseball. Starting lineup for the Cincinnati Reds tonight: Chu, Cozart in the #2 spot, then Votto, Phillips, Bruce, and Paul. There's a Rocco, Hanahan, and Cingrani against the right-hander Tyson Ross.
Now the big right-hander, number 66, and he is 6 feet 6 inches tall. Tyson Ross comes on. He gets his 7th start of the year. He's been in relief a little bit. He injured himself earlier in the year. He lost a lot of time due to a shoulder problem he had on his left shoulder after he swung the bat in a game against the Los Angeles Dodgers back in April. But Ross is the guy that's throwing the ball really well for the Padres recently. He's a big guy that has a very short leg stride, and he gets right on top of that breaking ball. They talk about downward plane a lot in pitching, and you know, he'll show you what the downward plane is all about if you just measure the angle of the ball when it releases out of his hand until the time it gets through the catcher's mitt. It looks like it's going down dramatically the entire time. Being 6'6" helps you do that.
How about he's wearing number 38 tonight on his blue uniform? You're right, though.
He was listed as number 66 in the media guide and everywhere else.
Yeah. The story goes that he wears 66 because he was given that uniform when he came up initially, and he had played his youth baseball on 66th Street in Oakland. And he wanted to keep the number.
Had nothing to do with him being 6'6". Well, here's the motion of Tyson Ross. If you notice, for a big guy, I mean, normally you stride about your height, but Ross has a very short stride. He'll remind you a little bit of Aaron Harang in that respect. A lot of top-heavy action in that delivery.
And they walks the leadoff man, Chu, so a good start for the Reds here in the bottom of number 1.
Boy, just what you don't want if you're Buddy Black. You're looking at your hit pitcher out there. You spot him 2 runs, and he walks the leadoff hitter.
Take a look at the Padres defensively behind Ross. Brought to you by your Ford dealers. Guzman, Venable, and Denorfia left to right. Left side is Headley at third. Forsythe at short. Right side is Jerko at second. Alonso at first. A battery of Ross and Hundley. There's Zach Kozar. He has spent more time in the number 2 spot in the Reds order this year than anybody else, but he's been out of there for almost a month. The last time we saw him bat in the 2-hole was the game down in Atlanta on the 11th of July. That was the second to the last game prior to the All-Star break. He's been hitting in the number 7 spot. First time tonight since then. 64th time this year. Quick visit to the mound by Nick Hundley. Tyson Ross, 27 walks, 65 innings this year, so almost one every 2 innings.
Well, like a lot of pitchers, though, he goes into these streaks where you get a little bit of something in your mechanics that goes out of kilter and you can't find the strike zone. So when you get him on a night when he has a problem throwing strikes, you might as well be patient. And the Reds may have just picked up that kind of opportunity here this evening.
Chu is on the move. Pitch is a strike. The throw bounces off the leg of Chu. Right to the shortstop Forsythe. Stolen base for Shin-Soo Chu is 13th of the year.
Well, he got a huge jump. I mean, it didn't even look like Tyson Ross was even thinking about him, and he probably wasn't. I mean, after walking the first batter, going down 2-0 to the next hitter, all you're thinking about there is throwing strikes, and that was a great time for Chu to take advantage of it.
Well, it's something that the Reds conceivably can do against the Padres. And keep in mind, and we've talked about it a lot, the Reds don't do a ton of base stealing, but the Padres pitching staff has given up more stolen bases this year than any other staff in the NL. Kozar doesn't need a hit here, although he'd certainly take it, but he'd love something to the right side to get that runner over to third base as a minimum. What he doesn't want to do is strike out. That's what he does on a breaking ball for out number 1.
Now you see how good that slider is, though, from Tyson Ross. You can think about hitting it the other way all you want, but when you deal it like this, I mean, this baby rolls right off the table. He's thinking about going the other way, and the ball just keeps biting away from him.
So the runner at second and 1 out. Ross will face Joey Votto. We highlighted him in the second segment of our open. August has been very kind to Votto at 500, and August has been the best month numbers wise that he has put up in his career. 323 average in his career in the month. There he is for this month, and that is this homestand. Last night a pair of hits, including a triple, a couple of runs batted in.
You wonder really how aggressive Tyson Ross is going to be right here. And we got Joey Votto, very hot hitter, seeing the ball well, lefty. You're down 2-0 to him. Really, what do you have to gain here by giving him something right down Broadway?
That's what he does. Oh, diving stop by Jerko, who will throw Votto out at first base. He steals a page out of the Brandon Phillips book of defense right there, robbing Votto of a hit and a run batted in.
Oh, what a rocket by Joey Votto right there. I mean, this ball had a life of its own. A humpback liner. We've heard a lot about Jerko's defense, about how good he can be out there. And, of course, our comment in Cincinnati is, well, we get to watch Brandon Phillips on a nightly basis. You really have to be good to impress a Reds fan. And that particular play should impress.
Speaking of, here is Phillips now. RBI opportunity for him. Brandon last night drove in a pair. That has tied him now with Alan Craig of the Cardinals for second in the National League in RBIs at 86. And he gets number 87 as he shoots this one out into right field. Base hit for Phillips. Scoring is Chu. And both teams have put a run up on the board. In the first, it's now 2-1 Padres.
Well, what a good looking swing right there for Brandon Phillips. Gets the first pitch up, out over the plate. Doesn't try to do much with it. That pitch is on the outer corner. But it's about belt high, and that Munchkin's Furniture slow-mo look will show you a 2-out ribeye. Very tasty.
Well, the batter now is Jay Bruce as he represents the go-ahead run. Phillips being held at first by Alonso, and he's running. The pitch is a strike, and the throw is in time on the head-first slide by Brandon. Throw taken by the shortstop Forsythe. Phillips is out, and the inning is over here in Cincinnati. Coming off the disabled list last night for the Reds, Ryan Hannigan, a couple of walks in his first game in a month, catching his man, of course, Bronson Arroyo, and then later in the game, Jonathan Broxton appearing for the first time in a while after he had the elbow issues and had him on the disabled list. 1 inning, 1 strikeout, 14 pitches. He did a very nice job late in the game, and boy, it's great to have those two back. That's our IGS bringing the energy for tonight's game. And really, you can look at Todd Frazier, and even though he wasn't on the DL, a couple of hits last night, broke that over 31. Hopefully he's back as well.
Yeah, you know, it was a big night for Todd Frazier. He was the guy that sponsored the music for the fireworks last night. Not sponsored, but he essentially made the playlist up, and he was happy to pick up a couple of knocks last night, break up that little funk that he was in.
Into left field, and Hall gets there and makes the catch for the out.
After having a long inning in the first, boy, Tony Cingrani would love to have a 1-2-3 second.
All right, let's go now to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. Wow, Josh Reddick, he didn't do anything in the 2 games here in the series against the Reds, but 5 home runs in 2 games for that Oakland club. They pounded out a win last night, and they are trailing, in fact lost today to Toronto 5-4. That line out to left by Hundley means quickly 2 men out in the top of the second. Doesn't it look like there's going to be a battle down to the bitter end again in that AL West between Oakland and Texas?
It certainly does. And if it's not a battle down just between those two ball clubs, it looks like it will be one heck of a battle worth watching in the American League wild card.
Yeah, that is what you say last night. It's like a 4 or 5 team race.
You can even go 6 games, at least as of last night, to 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 games, 6 teams involved.
Well, a much better inning so far for Cingrani here in the second. He gets the hard line drive by Hundley, the soft liner by Forsythe. Now Tyson Ross, who has a couple of hits and 15 ABs, the former, speaking of Oakland, former Oakland Athletic, quickly down 2 strikes. He was acquired by the Padres in November of last year from Oakland for a couple of minor league players. Chris mentioned made the ball club out of spring training, then had those left shoulder issues. Spent some time with their AAA club at Tucson. Boy, since he's been back, those 3 starts, 2 of which have been wins for him, have been very impressive, including the strikeout. Here he's at a ball and 2 strikes. Now a strikeout, number 3 for Tony Cingrani, and a 1-2-3 top of the second. $48 ticket offer that's coming up August 23rd through the 25th here at Great American Ballpark. For only $48, you get 4 view level tickets, 4 Reds hats. Take advantage of this great deal and cheer on the Reds when they take on the Milwaukee Brewers. For tickets, you can call 513-381-REDS. You can visit select Kroger locations or Reds.com/tickets today. Remember, offer subject to availability. 2-1 game in favor of the Padres. We move to the bottom of the second. Jay Bruce, who was at the plate when Phillips was thrown out attempting to steal second in the bottom of the first, leads it off here against Tyson Ross. He turned 26 on April the 3rd, and this is 6th year in the big leagues. Roll this to the right of Jerko, who will throw him out for out number 1. So here's Paul. He's been involved in the action so far in this game. Had a couple of putouts in the top of the second. Charged, unfortunately, with that error that went right between his legs. The ball did, and kicked off his heel, it looked like, allowing Denorfia to score in the first inning. And a tale of 2 seasons really for Paul. .234 with 6 homers and 28 runs batted in. Off to a pretty good start this year, but Right now he's 1 for his last 13. Only making his 3rd start during the homestand. 1 in each series thus far. His playing time would seem to be going to dwindle here recently or soon with the activation Monday, according to the manager of the Reds, Dusty Baker, of Ryan Ludwig. Ludwig played in his last rehab game last night with Louisville. He actually could have played through tomorrow, but they pulled him back after yesterday, working out with the team for 2 days, and it looks like Monday is going to be the day.
I'm sure that's a day that he's been waiting for a long time. I know how hard that Ryan Ludwig has worked, and it'll be interesting to see how much Dusty Baker will play him, against what type of pitcher he will play him, and whether he'll just throw him right in there and have him play every day. You got to remind yourself, it's a very difficult injury that Ludwig is coming back from. Anytime you have shoulder surgery and you try to return in the same year, that's a very tough task.
Well, he played 13 rehab games, 3 at Dayton and 10 at Louisville. Went 6 for 44, 136 average with a homer, 4 RBIs. Now, on the bright side of things, he did have a hit in each of his last 4 games. And you can see, if you've seen him at all lately, he had that big beard that he had grown while he was on the DL and rehabbing. That disappeared. It'll be great to have him back come Monday.
Right on top of the foot right there. That is the one spot that is protected by shin guards, of course, when you're catching. But when you're hitting, unless you've got a protector right there, and he may start wearing one after this at bat.
And we see him again in the 3rd or 4th inning. He'll probably have that thing on.
Now something must be going on with Nick Hundley. Maybe a breakdown of his own equipment. Or maybe he's going in there to get Devin Mesoraco a little shin guard. Said, I got one in my locker.
Catcher protecting another catcher.
Now he's got to go get a new glove.
In case you're wondering, and people ask this all the time, Nick Hundley, is he the son of the former Cubs catcher Randy Hundley? The answer, no. Going to be interesting to see now, really, with this club, with Mesoraco really taking advantage of the time, the month that Hannigan was on the disabled list, upping his game both offensively and defensively. How much playing time Mesoraco versus Hannigan get the remainder of the season? Devin starts this game at .252 with 8 home runs. Hannigan off the DL last night, played in the game, started. Mesoraco starting today. Leake will pitch tomorrow. Hopefully gunning for the sweep of the series by the Reds, and it's been Mesoraco who has caught him all year. So I would figure that Devin would be in their day game after the night game.
You would think so. Tell you one thing about Tyson Ross, he gets 2 strikes on you. He really loves that slider.
Hit hard by Mesoraco toward the bullpen of the Reds, chasing it out there and making the catch is Venable. Mesoraco gave it a good ride. The Reds go in order. players for serious injuries, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Interesting look tonight on our Elk and Elk managers of managers, active managers to play under other current managers. You see that Davey Johnson, Jim Leyland have 3 playing under them, but how about Dusty Baker, used to manage Bud Black, and before the game Bud Black talked about playing under Dusty Baker, what he's learned from him.
I learned from Dusty that you know, the art of, I don't know if it's an art or whatever, but, you know, I want our players to know that I'm in there with them, whether I'm on the mound with them, whether I'm in the batter's box, that, you know, I think, I mean, at least I do, and I think I sense from Dusty, and I think from other managers that I've talked to, I mean, I still feel like a player.
Well, I guess if you wear wristbands, Dusty Baker would feel the same way, right? He still feels like a player. There's Dusty. Always has a couple of sets of wristbands on. Bud Black, former pitcher, pitching coach with the LA Angels for a long time under Mike Scioscia. And the skipper now of this San Diego club in his 7th year. And Orphea leads things off here in the top of the 3rd.
Of course, that 1993 year, one of those years that Buddy Black did play for Dusty Baker. That's when the Giants won 103 ball games that year. They won 103 games and ended up coming in 2nd place.
That was in the early days of Dusty's managerial career. Orphea led off this game with a solid single into left. Now he will draw the walk, so he is on for the 2nd time. All right, let's go again to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. Well, good for the Cubs. They lead the Cardinals. If that lead were to hold tonight, long way to go in both games. Reds could come back and win here. The Reds would be just 1 game behind St. Louis for 2nd in the division and the top wild card spot. Now, in terms of the Cubs, Reds will see them for 3 days beginning on Monday. That's all a totally different looking club now than the Reds have seen in the past.
It certainly is. Some of the pitching is still there, but obviously some of the trades that they made have caused them some call-ups to younger players. You know, it's interesting. We talked at dinner, Jim, and there's the standings right there for you in the NL Central. How about how the Cardinals look like gangbusters when they came through here and took 2 out of 3 against the Reds, but overall in the last dozen or so games, they haven't played well at all.
Well, they had that 7-game losing streak.
They've had some of their own problems to contend with, and now they've got all they can handle in the Cubs.
Yeah, going into tonight, they've lost 12 of their last 15 games. And Orphea with the lead at first. Double play ball. Phillips, Cozart, Votto. Reds turn it 4-6-3.
Yeah, there's the Reds defense that we've been looking for. It was absent there in the 1st inning, but that is a DP lane ground ball by Will Venable. Just the way you like it if you're Tony Cingrani, who, by the way, really doesn't get all that many ground ball double plays. He's not a ground ball pitcher, but they're ready for it just in case.
So the walk and the double play erases that. 2 out, nobody on. Here's Chase Headley, who bounced that ball to Jack Hanahan in the 1st inning. Reached on the air, and he'll pop this one up between the mound and home plate. Nice job by Denorfia to get behind that ball, turn himself around, and play it like an infielder. He makes a very good play on it. The inning is over. Ohio is brought to you by Toyota. See your Toyota dealer or visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. Little action outside the ballpark, and now inside. The Padres lead 2-1. Reds come calling here in the bottom of the third. They'll have their third baseman, Jack Hanahan, lead it off. Now let me correct something I said. It was not Chris Denorfia, but rather Devin Mesoraco, who turned around and did a nice job to catch that pop-up of Chase Headley. Take anything away from Devin, who made a very nice play on that ball. I guess he wants to get out there and turn around so the ball is coming to him, not away from him.
You know, the interesting thing about that is he never really did throw his mask away. He held his mask in one hand and caught the ball with the other.
Hanahan career-wise 2 for 4 against Tyson Ross. And other than Chu, who would have faced Ross when he was in the American League and Ross was with Oakland, Hanahan did the same when he was with Cleveland. He has more at-bats than anybody else. 2 for 4 against this guy.
Of course, Hanahan and Ross have both spent time in the A's organization, although not at the same time. Tyson Ross, number 2 draft pick by the A's in 2008 before he was traded to the Padres. In fact, that trade was just this last winter. Came into spring training, good arm. They weren't sure what they're going to be able to do with him. But the one thing they did want to do is have him throw his slider more, and he's throwing that an awful lot tonight.
Well, right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, updates from Bengals training camp. Details of Ken Griffey Jr.'s first Hall of Fame induction. And make sure you join Hal McCoy for a live chat right now. Get complete coverage of all of today's action involving Ohio sports. Brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. Here's Cingrani with 1 out. About Ken Griffey Jr. tonight out in Seattle, being inducted into the Mariners Hall of Fame out at Safeco Field.
What took him so long?
Well, was it 3 years ago now that he retired? Ken Griffey Jr. He's only the 7th member of their Hall of Fame. Alvin Dark, Dave Niehaus, the radio broadcaster, Jay Buhner, one of the best DHs of all time, Edgar Martinez, maybe the best ever, the big lefty, Randy Johnson, catcher Dave Wilson, all in the Hall of Fame. (2010) I guess was Junior's last year, and in the following year, 2011, he's been a special consultant for the Mariners. And Grani strikes out. 2 strikeouts in the inning, and now 3 in the game for Ross. Top of the order now in Shin-Soo Choo. Interesting note about Junior when they're talking about his induction into the Mariners Hall of Fame. There's a luncheon and a sale of commemorative bats associated with the weekend's activities out in Seattle that will benefit the Seattle Children's Hospital and the new Ken Griffey Jr. Family Endowment for Pediatric Cancer Research out there in Seattle. So putting it to some good use right
Well,
there.
you're not kidding about that. And Kenny did a lot of things when he was here in Cincinnati that he didn't want anybody to know about. I mean, he was very generous with his time and his money, and oftentimes you never even know that he was at a place making a visit or a contribution, and just the kind of guy he is.
We congratulate the Griffey family and certainly Ken Griffey Jr. We hope his dad is out there and be able to take part in the ceremony out at Safeco Field. His dad manages in the Reds organization now. 2 strikes out. Ross strikes out the side, and we are through 3. The Reds down by a run. Trivia question of the game. Which three major league teams has Bronson Arroyo not defeated? Which three big league teams has Bronson Arroyo not defeated? Thinking along those lines, Danny Herron was the most recent pitcher when he won last night for the Nationals to have defeated all 30 teams. Herron with the Nationals now. Former Diamondback. It's a good question.
That's a pretty amazing feat when you really start to think about it.
Jesus Guzman leading it off here in the fourth. Strikeout victim his first time. 8 of the last 9 now retired by Tony Cingrani since the error by Hanahan on the ball hit by Headley back in the first. Guzman under this and a pop-up. Phillips will settle under it, and that is the first out here in the fourth.
Now, the high fastball has been the best friend of Tony Cingrani, and that was the same pitch that the Padres have chased up in the zone. Guzman chased it for the first strikeout of the ball game. That was with a runner on after the Reds have booted the ball around a little bit. Cingrani really needed a strikeout. All he really does is go up the rung of the ladder a little bit. I mean, it's so easy to say, but it's so rare that you find a pitcher that can pitch effectively up in the zone like that.
You've got to like the way that Cingrani, after that rough first inning, none of really of his problem, really bounced back and been solid.
Especially a starting pitcher. I mean, sometimes you'll see a reliever, especially a late inning reliever, who throws very hard, throws up in the zone with a high fastball. Those are the guys that can be very effective. But rarely do you see a starting pitcher that can live upstairs as effectively as Cingrani. And he has slowed down a little bit. I mean, he's slowed down his tempo, I think. In that first inning, you know, Denorfia leads off with a base hit. Then he gives another base hit on a broken bat. And then you could see him pick up the pace a little bit. The Reds kicked the ball around, but he found composure enough to get out of the inning.
Late on that swing, and Alonso lifts it to left, where Paul will take care of it. A 2 up, 2 down here in the top of the fourth. Well, you saw that pitch count, 32 in the first, and only 8 in each the second and the third, and what he has 7 here now. Don't forget, coming up later in the broadcast tonight, our Miller Time moment of the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. We're looking for a second 1-2-3 inning with Jed Jerko at the plate.
Now, both these young pitchers, and Cingrani's 24, Tyson Ross is 26, are really under the tutelage of 2 of the best pitching coaches in the business. We know that Brian Price is outstanding. He always has been, and the Reds are happy to have him. But Darren Balsley with the Padres is equally as respected around, and is one of the best pitching coaches in baseball. And he was a guy that has really worked with Tyson Ross the same way that Brian Price has tried to get Tony Cingrani to do a few things differently and become a major league pitcher.
Now we know that, and their manager Bud Black, a former pitcher, we know that Dusty Baker is a former hitting coach managing now. You see him every now and then talking with hitters about hitting. How much do you think Bud Black does that on the pitching side?
I think he really lets Darren Balsley do his job. I'm sure they've got input back and forth among them, and he, you know what, a lot of times a manager can do is just tell a story, and Dusty Baker's very good at this. He'll tell a story about Hank Aaron or one of the players that he played with, about how he approached a certain at bat or how he approached a certain pitcher that may have been very good against him, and so on. Well, I'm sure Buddy Black does the same thing with his pitchers, saying, hey, you know, I remember I played with, you know, fill in the blank, Randy Johnson or whoever it was, and this is what he did. So without really stepping beyond his lines of being the manager and then trying to be the pitching coach too, you know, you can kind of get the story across and get the lesson across by, you know, in an anecdotal form.
Well, you're right. Dusty does a lot of that. Both teams scored in the first. The Padres runs unearned. Reds run came on a RBI hit to right by Phillips. Two 2-1 San Diego here in the fourth.
You know, the interesting thing about telling stories like that, little sayings, that the players will remember those sayings, and those sayings will live kind of on and on. So maybe something that Hank Aaron said to Dusty Baker will say to Joey Votto, who will say to a young kid at a baseball clinic, maybe at the Reds Community Fund Center, and that kid will keep it, and so on and so on. And that's the way a lot of times you learn your lessons about baseball.
Walk by Cingrani, his second. He'll go back to the stretch now and work against Logan Forsythe with a runner aboard, 2 out. Forsythe, the soft liner into left, caught out there by Paul his first time. He began the year on the disabled list with a right foot injury. Didn't play his first game until June the 10th. A lot of time to make up for Logan Forsythe, playing shortstop. And that's where he hits the ball. Get the force out at second base. Out is Jerko. And the top of the fourth comes to a close.
Coming up in today's Whiff is brought to you by Head & Shoulders, now with a hint of Old Spice. These pitchers tonight, they get the strikeouts, but they get them in a couple of different fashions. Tony Cingrani relies on his calling card, which is the high four-seam fastball. He's had 6 strikeouts on the night. No, he hasn't. He's had 3 strikeouts on the night, but by contrast, Tyson Ross likes that slider down and into Hanahan right there, also down and into Shin-Soo Choo for his 4 strikeouts. Different ways of getting the same thing done. That is our Whiff, brought to you by Head & Shoulders, now with a hint of Old Spice.
Cingrani and the Reds down by a run as they come calling here in the bottom of the fourth at 2-1. Cozart leads things off. I mentioned tonight is Irish Heritage Night at the ballpark, and as part of that, the McGing Irish Dancers performed on the Crosley Terrace prior to the game. They're going to return there and have a post-game performance as well. Also during the pregame, the Irish band Dark Maul performed on the Kroger Fan Zone stage. Bagpipers out there. Very nice. National anthem performed tonight by the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick, with the Cincinnati Emerald Society presenting the colors.
Nice. You mean the Emerald Society that would include David Scott, our good friend David Scott?
I would assume that.
He's always up for Irish night. Well, that's the same slider that Zach Cozart chased his first time up, and he was trying to get the runner over to third base when Choo stole second. just expanded the zone and chased something out of the zone. He does it again. Well, that is a pretty good looking pitch right there. He has struck out 4 in a row.
Four straight Ks, 7 straight retired. Reminder that tonight's Ohio Lottery Powerball jackpot worth $40 million. The drawing is at 11 p.m. this evening, so you still have a little time. A little under 3 hours. $40 million. Ohio Lottery Powerball. Votto with 1 out. Last red to reach was Phillips, who had the RBI single to right in the first. Since then, 7 straight by Tyson Ross.
You know, it happens so often, not only young pitchers, but just starting pitchers. You get them in the first inning, get them rattled a little bit. I mean, Ross walked the first batter that he faced in the bottom of the first when he walked Chu. But if you let them get a chance to get their feet on the ground, get their sea legs under them a little bit, I mean, both Cingrani and Ross now are really hitting their stride.
We talked about how well Ross has pitched in his last 3 outings. 3 starts ago at Milwaukee, run in 6 innings. 2 starts ago at Arizona, no runs in 8. And then his last start against the Yankees, 2 runs in 6. And only in that Yankees game did he come out a loser.
Now, I mentioned that he was drafted by the Oakland A's in the 2nd round of the 2008 draft. And he went to Cal Berkeley. And he's a young man that really in college didn't light anything up. The year that he was drafted, his win-loss total was 7-4, had an earned run average over 4. But yet they saw something in him, major league potential. Maybe it was his height, maybe it was his fastball that prompted them to take him in the 2nd round. And here he walks Votto.
2nd walk given up by Ross. Let's go back to that AT&T trivia question. Take a look at the answer. Which 3 major league teams has Bronson Arroyo not defeated? The Royals, the Red Sox, and the Yankees.
You know, the Red Sox would make perfect sense because when he played the American League, he played for the Red Sox. There's a list of pitchers who have beaten all 30 major league teams.
Pretty good staff right there.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Some lefties, some righties. You got it going. Danny Herron with that win last night against Philly becomes the latest addition to that list. Phillips a base hit, RBI into right his first time, upping that RBI total to 87. They're 13 now away from the 100 mark, which when he gets there, it'll be the first time in his career. Skipped away from Hundley. That'll put Votto in the scoring position with 1 out.
Hundley looking for that breaking ball down, and he gets it down, but it hits off the tip of his glove. So now Brandon Phillips with another golden opportunity to drive a run, and this would be the tying run.
Scoring along with us, put that down as a wild pitch. Big chance here now for the Reds cleanup hitter. And it's 3 balls and no strikes.
Our 2nd night in a row, the Padres have run a pitcher out there, a starter that has hit 97 on a radar gun.
Last night, Andrew Cashner. Tonight, Ross.
And speed's not everything, obviously. I mean, Cashner did not fare too well against this Reds ball club last night.
Borderline strike to Brandon, who had started his way down to first base. 3-1. Definitely the upper end. Reds down by a run, batting here in the 4th. Speaking of the 4th, that Cardinal game at home against the Cubs in the 4th. Cubs still leading 1-0. 3-2. Wellington Castillo has driven in that run for Chicago. Starting pitchers in that game tonight. Villanueva for Chicago and Waka, young man who came up earlier this year for the Cardinals and back down to Memphis. Back up pitching tonight. A couple of right-handers at Busch Stadium. Brandon got ahead 3-0. Ross comes back to get him on strikes. Strikeout number 6.
We showed you the tail of the tape between these two pitchers at the very beginning of the ball game. And we showed you Tony Cingrani's strikeout rate per 9 innings is much higher than that of Tyson Ross. But tonight, Tyson Ross likes this thick, humid Cincinnati air, and that slider here has some bite.
They'll go after Jay Bruce here. It could tie the game. Long ball, which he's certainly capable. Jay starts the day with 24 of them. Give the Reds the lead. He homered in both games of that Oakland series. Did not go yard last night, but did have an RBI double. Bruce starts the day. Tops in the National League in extra base hits. Tied for second in the league with 32 doubles. Came across a note, and you probably found the same thing, Chris, in preparing for tonight's game regarding Ross. Found it interesting in that the scout that scouted him, eventually led to the A's signing him, was the former Red Jermaine Clark. Remember the little outfielders?
I do remember Jermaine Clark. I saw that name, and I was wondering if that was the same guy.
He's from the Oakland area as well.
Well, you know, the street that you mentioned, the 66th Avenue, was only a couple of miles away from the Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right there. So that's one reason why the A's liked him. Of course, he went to Cal Berkeley. Smart young man.
Now, like Phillips, Bruce gets ahead 3-0. Jermaine Clark, he had a little bit of time in the big leagues with Cincinnati. Hustling little outfielder. Ball 4 on a 3-0 pitch, so that goes down as an intentional walk. Paul gets a chance with 2 on, 2 out. Boy, hit that hard at the second baseman on a short hop. They force Bruce at second. Reds leave their first 2 runners in this game.
Fox Sports Ohio Reds baseball, Saturday night style. Jim Day with you, and we've talked many times about the impressive growth behind the plate of Devin Mesoraco. We talked to Mesoraco recently, and he has been impressed with tonight's battery mate, Tony Cingrani. We talked to him about the lefty's growth.
He's never scared out there. I'd say that's the biggest thing. He attacks hitters, goes right after them. You know, he's got a dynamite fastball, and he goes out there and throws it as much as he can to get the guys out. You know, that's been the in and out of it. I think that you know, he's come along with the slider a little bit. It's gotten better. It's gotten some strikeouts here the past couple games. So, yeah, you know, he's getting better. But you know, at the end of the day, he's got that good fastball, and he's going to throw that as much as he possibly can.
Well, this is the 14th start for Cingrani, and he has thrown to all three catchers, mostly Mesoraco, but also he's had Corky Miller catch him, and he's also had Hannigan catch him.
You know, there are a lot of different ways you evaluate a pitcher. You know, you can look at the numbers, the wins and losses, the earned run average, the number of strikeouts. You can look at his stuff like scouts do. They rate his radar gun, they rate his breaking ball, his control, all those things. But then there's that intangible. And I think that the thing that you love about Cingrani is he has that extra something that seems to me like it's going to propel him to be just a stud pitcher in the major leagues for a long time. Some guys pitch scared. You know, you heard Devin Mesoraco said he's never scared, and he never really shows us that he has got any emotions going on. Sometimes he'll speed it up a little bit. The only time we ever really saw him get out of whack was there in Texas, where he came in relief for Johnny Cueto. And that was when he had to warm up in front of, you know, they brought him onto the main field after the injury. You have as long as you want to warm up. But I can tell you, having done that, people in the front row are yelling at you, "Let's go, hurry up. We got a dinner appointment to go to. We got reservations. Hurry up." And they're all beginning to yell at you. So you never really get the kind of time you need to warm up in a situation like that. That was the one really bad game he had as far as his control.
I can relate to what you're saying, because I remember when the Pirates were here, we had that delay, and A.J. Burnett was pitching for Pittsburgh. And he didn't warm up at all until he took the mound and went through the whole process, and everybody down below was hollering, "Come on, get it going, get it going."
I don't think he fared too well that night.
He did not. Oh, right between the legs of the sure fielding Hanahan. That'll be the third error of this game for the Reds, as Nick Hundley lights out at second base. Two-base error for Hanahan. Number 3 for the Reds. Look at that.
He hasn't had a lot of playing time, but you rarely, if ever, see this from Hanahan. I mean, he is about as sure-handed as anybody out there this side of Brandon Phillips. He's having one of those nights. He was pinned for an error in the first inning when he threw one over the head of Joey Votto.
We've had errors by Paul on a ball that went between his legs out and left. Hanahan and Aaron throw earlier, and now he's charged with the two-base fielding error here. Ross will try to bunt the runner along. That'll go foul. Hanahan had only one error. Only one error in the game on the season going into tonight's game. Three errors is indeed the most errors the Reds have committed in a game this year. It's the 6th time it's happened in 2013. They have been, continue to be, one of the top fielding teams in the National League. Let's see if Bud Black still wants Ross to move that runner along via the bunt. I would suspect he would. 15 years in the big leagues for Bud Black. Seattle, the Giants, we talked about that. He later pitched for Cleveland, Toronto, back to the Giants. Longtime pitching coach for the Angels. Now in his 7th year as a manager of the Padres. Glenn Hoffman, their third base coach, former big league manager.
Maybe better known as brother of Trevor Hoffman.
Right. The old Reds draftee, Trevor Hoffman.
Tell you one thing, Tyson Ross did a pretty good job there after getting 2 strikes on him, and in an attempt to try to get the bunt down of not chasing some tempting pitches from Tony Cingrani. Now he's run the count full. Cingrani's got to lay right in there for him.
Well, he bunts it with 2 strikes. Foul. That will be the strikeout number 4 for Tony Cingrani. Top of the order now for the Padres. Features Chris Denorfia. Denorfia's had a nice career with San Diego. Really a nice big league career since he left the Reds. Played for the Reds back in 05 and 06. Came up to the Reds organization. They traded him to Oakland. Later signed as a free agent with San Diego and done a nice job for them out there.
And he's never been an everyday player. He's never had any more than 350 at-bats in a year, which is a little more than half of what you get when you're an everyday player. A really good role player.
One of those guys you look at, and I hate to use the term marginal talent, but he's really made himself into a useful big league player for a team.
He's got just about 8 full seasons in the major leagues, and you know, a lot of people thought when he was traded from here to the Padres that was the beginning of the end for Chris Denorfia.
He's proved them wrong, and we're happy for him.
He has.
Married, of course, to former Reds pitcher Ted Powers' daughter. Ted is the pitching coach, been down at Louisville, Reds AAA club, for a long time. Bruce to his right, tracking this ball to the warning track and right in front of the 370 mark. Hauls it in for out number 2. That ball seemed to carry more than we thought it might.
It really did. It just went farther and farther, and Bruce, in pursuit, was never going to give up. Padres, none of them even got up off the bench, because a fly ball like that at Petco Park dies about 20 feet in front of the warning track.
That's what made it so amazing what Denorfia did against Chapman in that pinch hit late in that first game.
Not only over the center field fence, but way over
the
center field fence and into the bushes. I was just looked up to see who Chris Denorfia was traded for.
When he went to Oakland?
He went to San Diego. He went from Cincinnati to he went to Cincinnati to Oakland. You're right about that. And that was Marcus McBeth.
And there was a pitcher, Ben Jukic, I think, was involved as well.
Could have been.
Marcus McBeth. I remember him, former Red Sox prospect. Marcus McBeth. Quickly can get ahead here now. 2 strikes to Venable. Venable last night kept his hitting streak alive at 6 with that home run in the 8th inning. 14th of the year. That's a new career high for the son of the former Reds outfielder Max Venable.
Well, Venable was quite a basketball and baseball player at Princeton University when he went there. He was all Ivy League a couple of years. In fact, during his tenure at Princeton, he played in 4 championships, twice in basketball when they got invited to the big dance, and then twice in postseason with baseball.
Wild one, and initially Mesoraco cannot locate. Over to third base, and the wild pitch goes Hundley. Well, the Reds have action in the bullpen in the person of Alfredo Simon. We'll talk about that in a moment.
That is a real wild one right there. When you throw a slider like that pitch, it's going to hit the dirt and bite back and go the opposite way in which it was originally breaking. You just try to get your body in front of it. That's a big play because Tyson Ross had a chance to get that run over to third base. The bunt did not do it. That would have scored a run.
Instead, a strikeout on the high fastball. Number 5 for Tony Cingrani. Take a look at it again as we go to break. Middle of the 5th, 2-1 San Diego. Reds fans, if a Reds home run hits the Toyota sign during tonight's game out there in right center field, Elizabeth Tolbert from Fairfield, Ohio will win this beautiful new Tundra on display at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win in an upcoming game by visiting your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. A good house here tonight at Great American Ballpark. Middle game of this 3-game series. Reds trying to get something going offensively. Scored in the first. Nothing since that time. Trailing 2-1 to this right-hander Tyson Ross. There's a lot of run on a hit. He's walked 3 but struck out 6. Hard hit ball to the left of the shortstop Forsythe, and that's a leadoff base hit. Now we have an update on that Cardinal game, so let's go to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. All right, thank you very much. So the Cardinals get on the board for the first time in that series. They were blanked last night by the Cubs 3-0. Took them until the bottom of the 4th to get on the board in this game. Cardinals 3, Cubs 1. Comes against Carlos Villanueva, who had been in the rotation, then went to the pen, but now with the exodus of some of those Cubs starters, back in the rotation for Chicago. Yeah, I was looking at their box score yesterday, and there were 3 or 4 names. I thought, now who's that? Who's that? Guys that we'll see up there for the first time come Monday. Alonso out at second, out at first. Hit into by Hanahan. Nicely turned by Alonso, Forsythe, and the pitcher over there covering Ross.
Alonso does a nice job right here of creating a good throwing lane, making sure he's got plenty of space to throw that ball to shortstop. You see when he fields that ball, he continues to head towards the pitcher's mound, and that creates that good lane, and Alonso begins that 3-6-3 twin killing.
Cingrani's going to be lifted, and Derek Robinson will bat. This leads us back to our discussion in the top of the 5th inning, and really back to what you were talking about early on, and that is with Tony Cingrani. Reds would really like to see him get deeper into games.
Well, you know, he's always going to be a guy that throws a lot of pitches because he records a lot of strikeouts. So that's the one thing that happens to him that may not happen to a guy like Mike Leake or Bronson Arroyo, where they get a hitter out of 3 or fewer pitches. But for the most part, after that first inning, he was fairly efficient, Cingrani was. He's given up only a couple of base runners.
Since that first
inning.
2 unearned runs in 5 innings, 92 pitches for Tony Cingrani. Under the pitcher's glove, cut off by Forsythe. Good hustle down the line by Robinson, and they just get him as the pinch hitter to put an end to the Reds' 5th. Before every game, that's with Reds Live here on Fox Sports Ohio, your exclusive home of Reds baseball. Reds Live pregame presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And after every Reds game, Fox Sports Live, the first to talk with the skipper, Dusty Baker. That's Reds Live postgame, brought to you by King's Honda in the King's Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. And as always, Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro head up our pre and post game coverage. New pitcher is Alfredo Simon.
And it'll be a 5-inning stint for the starter Tony Cingrani. And Alfredo Simon, dependable as ever, comes in 45 games now for Simon, covering 58 innings.
Worked in the game last night. Gave up the home run ball to Will Venable in the 8th. Worked in all 3 games of the Cardinal series. So his 5th appearance of this homestand. He appeared 36 times a year ago with a 2.66. And already, as Chris mentioned, his 45th appearance of this year. Reds have counting tonight 47 games remaining. In the air by Headley. Into the left field corner. Tracking this ball is Paul. That's in foul or fair? Fair ball, says the third base umpire Adam Hamari. You get it? And that's the first out. MLB.com at bat, celebrating 5 years now as your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At bat delivers Reds baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, highlights, and much more. Simply text at bat to 31826 or visit Reds.com for all of the details. This is Jesus Guzman. 29-year-old is 0 for 2. Now you throw out that 2-run first by the Padres. They go down in order in the second. 3 batters and out thanks to the double play ball in the third. 4 batters in the fourth thanks to a walk. 4 batters in the fifth thanks to an error. And here's Hanahan making the throw right on. And 2 batters quickly out here in the 6th inning. Well, it's been a tough night for Hanahan. He gets a round of applause from the crowd. He's made 2 errors in the game. Only the second multi-error game of his career.
And it's so unlikely. I mean, he's going to go home tonight and not even if he takes an over at the plate, the thing that's going to bother him obviously are the errors.
Yeah, the word about Hanahan when they signed him, the Reds, as a free agent to a 2-year deal. Remember, he was not involved in that Cleveland-Cincinnati trade, although a lot of people think he was. He was actually signed as a free agent. That he's going to hit some for you, but his calling card is his defense. He only committed 1 error this year prior to tonight's game.
And he did come up with probably the biggest hit in the ball game in that one game that the Reds won against the St. Louis Cardinals.
A week ago today, yeah. First inning 2-run single.
Right over the shortstop's head.
Hit the other way by Alonso, right at Paul, who goes down to a knee to make the catch. And nice work in the top of the 6th inning by Alfredo Simon. In Northern Kentucky Honda dealers, let's take a look at our Honda game summary. All the scoring occurred in the 1st inning. Cingrani got the best of Venable there. He jammed him, but Venable hits it into left for a hit, and then it scoots between the legs of Paul that scored Denorfia, who led off the game with a single. Padres take a 1-0 lead. Later in the inning, Headley ground ball to third. Look back at the runner, and then a bit of a wide throw by Hanahan. Votto didn't come off the bag far enough to catch that ball, and another run scored to make it 2-0. Reds answer in the bottom of the 1st on this RBI single by Phillips that plates Chu. And that's been the scoring in this game. That's tonight's Honda game summary. Padres 2, Reds 1. Reds batting here in the bottom of the 6th. No scoring on either side since the 1st. Top of the order here. Chu, Cozart, Votto against Tyson Ross. He's only thrown 68 pitches going into this inning. Chu has walked and scored the lone Reds run, and then he struck out his last time. Ross was an 11-game loser last year with Oakland before the trade. 2-11. This year he's bounced back. Only won 2 games. But he has pitched much better this year than he did for the Oakland Athletics last year. He had a 6+ ERA for the Athletics. Well, what a year they had. Winning that American League West on the final day of the season. Didn't lead all year until after game number 162, the Oakland A's last year. Newest member of this Padres pitching staff, who the Reds will see tomorrow, Ian Kennedy over from Arizona, will pitch for the Padres, and that Joe Thatcher deal, they needed relief. These guys looking for more starting. Ian Kennedy, who's been nails against the Reds throughout his career, pitches here tomorrow afternoon against Mike Leake. Right side, Alonso, good pick, and a feed to Ross, and a 3-1 putout. Starts the bottom of the 6th.
Oh, another slider by Tyson Ross, this time not a strikeout but a ground ball, and he's thrown a lot of them on the night. You see 63% fastballs, 37% off speed. That's pretty much what he averages all year long. Included in that off-speed pitch, not only his slider, but he's thrown anywhere from 5 to 10% changeups. He usually reserves the changeup to left-handed hitters.
Well, back to something you talked about earlier with that short stride. You made mention that it's kind of like Aaron Harang used to do. He doesn't extend further out. Didn't they try to change Harang a little bit when Brian Price initially showed up, but it just didn't work out?
Yeah, they did, because Aaron Harang originally had a longer stride, and he really got great extension towards home plate, and then he got shorter and shorter in an attempt to get on top of his breaking ball. But what happened is that shortened up his fastball. Tyson Ross doesn't have that problem.
Forsythe throws out Cozart. Quickly 2 out. Well, the Fox Sports 1 Road to Launch Bus will make a stop in Cincinnati this coming Tuesday. Join Fox Sports girls from around the country and special guests at the Holy Grail at the Banks right across from the ballpark Tuesday night to watch the Reds and the Cubs from Wrigley Field and celebrate the launch of Fox Sports 1. That's the Holy Grail at the Banks this coming Tuesday night. Don't miss out. We have it from good authority that one Jim Day, yes, the legendary one himself, Jim Day, will be at the Holy Grail at the Banks Tuesday night for that Fox Sports 1 watch party.
Oh, nice.
You'll be on the radio side.
I'll be on the radio side. You'll be working with the Cowboy, and I'm sure that you will be throwing it to Fox 1.
Well,
from Chicago.
We'll get a chance to say hi to the folks at the Holy Grail Banks on Tuesday night. Should be good. Imagine they'll be packed in there.
They usually are.
Just a week away from the launch of Fox Sports 1. I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to that. Hit hard and by the diving second baseman Jerko. Votto's tried him earlier, and Jerko robbed him of a hit and a run batted in. Here, Votto gets the hit to extend his hitting streak to 8.
And Jerko really made the defensive play of the game, at least on the side of the Padres, by robbing Votto in the first inning.
That's the tying run on with 2 out. Chris, we were talking before the game today about the fact that Votto seems to be, lately at least, pulling the ball a lot more.
Yeah, you know what, and I just kind of thought about it anecdotally, thinking, well, over the last few games, it just seems like that. You began to go back through your scorebook, and it bears it out. Maybe we'll be able to, for tomorrow's ball game, dig up a hit chart of Votto, maybe month by month, that kind of thing, because, you know, a lot of times, especially a talented hitter like Votto, can change that approach based on how pitchers are beginning to pitch him. And it was obvious for a while that pitchers were pounding him inside with fastballs, and the more you try to hit the inside pitch the other way, the more you get jammed. So now he's turning on it and putting the barrel of the bat on the ball.
He represents the tying run with 2 men out. Off the glove of Alonso, but as it would happen for the Padres, right to Jerko. That's a 3-4-3 out at first base. The bounce is going the way of the Padres so far here tonight. Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Cincinnati Children's Hospital. It's a three-peat. Cincinnati Children's ranks 3rd in the nation in U.S. News and World Report's 2013 Best Children's Hospitals for the 3rd year in a row. And by Chevy. Stop into your Tri-State Chevy dealer today and check out their full line of fuel-efficient vehicles. Alfredo Simon, a 1-2-3-6, though back he goes to work here in inning number 7. Tony Cingrani's final line, 2 unearned runs, 2 hits, 5 innings, with 5 strikeouts in 92 pitches. Cannot win, can only be the loser. Jerko leading it off. And he quickly finds himself in the hole, 2 strikes.
Well, that is right in the kitchen right there. Simon runs that fastball in there in the mid-90s. That one at 95 miles an hour. And even a guy with short arms like Jed Jerko gets jammed.
Reds fans cheer on the Redlegs on Monday, August the 19th through Thursday the 22nd. They take on, yes, the Arizona Diamondbacks here at Great American Ballpark. Don't miss all the exciting baseball action during this 4-game series. You can get tickets by calling 513-381-RED. You can visit select Kroger locations, or you can log on to reds.com/tickets. Big 4-game get-together against the Diamondbacks. Monday through Thursday, 3 night games and an afternoon game. That is the team that right now is immediately behind the Reds in terms of the second wild card spot postseason. Remember out there, the Diamondbacks took 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati. It'll be a big 4-gamer. Of course, between then and now, counting tonight's game, 9 games to be played. Hanahan, wide throw. That's probably going to be a base hit, though. It looked like the runner Forsythe is going to beat that out, although could be a hit and an error. We'll wait and see to be sure.
Now they're going to give him a straight error all the way. He just took a little extra time right here, and I think that Jack Hanahan has a baseball version of the yips right now. The more you think about it, the more you think about throwing into the camera well.
First one was close. This one not close at all. 3 errors for Jack Hanahan tonight, the most he's ever committed in a game in his career. You know he's thinking, are you kidding me? What in the heck is going on? 2-base error.
Well, you never know. He might be the guy that comes up to get the base hit to win the ball game.
Wouldn't that be nice? Nick Hundley is 0 for 2, reached on an error by Hanahan back in the 5th. Trying to keep him down. Came into the game at .234 in a very good July. He's 0 for his last 17. Padres here in the 7th. 4 errors now in this game for the Reds. First time that has happened since the 20th of May 2010 against Atlanta. Remember that game? That's a terrible date to have to remember. That was the Brooks Conrad walk-off grand slam down in Atlanta. You remember that?
I sure do.
Painful, painful memory.
That's when he hit the ball. And he wasn't even sure that it went out of the ballpark. He started going back to the dugout because he thought it was caught by Lance Nix.
It was Terry Pendleton, his first base coach. He said, no, that's a home run. Simon will try to work around that error. Nice play there by Mesoraco to hop on that ball. Hundley has gone 2-3. That sends Forsythe over to third, and now Bud Black will make a call. Tyson Ross or not Tyson Ross?
Well, it's all about getting out of the catcher's box and moving your feet. Boy, you know, a big, strong guy like Mesoraco, he reacts very quickly. Really good athlete back there. And they're going to let Ross bat right here.
0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Hits this ball hard to short. Handled nicely by Cozart. And Alfredo Simon does a heck of a job there to work around the throwing error by Hanahan. And tomorrow after the Reds game, in fact, after Reds Live post game, you'll want to stay with Fox Sports Ohio. Stay tuned and catch all of the action from the Pro Football Hall of Fame Enshrinement Festival Grand Parade taking place in Canton, Ohio. It is a one-of-a-kind celebration, to be sure. You can see it all right here. Fox Sports Ohio. That's tomorrow following Reds Live post game. That remains to be seen if the decision made by Bud Black is a good one or a bad one in terms of leaving Tyson Ross in there to bat for himself in the 7th.
Well, that was very unusual anyway. Normally a manager at this point in the ballgame is going to try to add on if they possibly can. But he feels pretty confident in the ability of Tyson Ross. I mean, he's not running into problems, really. Ross hasn't had a runner on second base since the 4th inning.
The Padres have created 0 offense since the 1st. In fact, they do not have a hit since the 1st inning.
The interesting thing, though, is that you still have 2 left-handers in Jay Bruce and Xavier Paul coming up here to lead this inning off. And Bruce has not hit the ball especially hard, but Xavier Paul has.
Bruce tried to get it going here in the bottom of the 7th. Padres 2, Reds 1, all the scoring in the 1st. Cardinal game is at 4-2 St. Louis. Cardinals batting now in the 6th inning. Drifting near the stands and out of play. Chase Headley all the way over there. Couldn't get it. Pirate Rockies game is in a rain delay. It has not started as of yet out in Denver at Coors Field. Diamondbacks, they're at home against the Mets and trailing 1-0. Mets batting in the top of the fourth of that game. Two and one to Bruce. Jay grounded out in the second. An unintentional walk after getting ahead 3-0 his last time. A couple of home runs during this homestand for Bruce. Nice layoff of that breaking ball, which has really been the best pitch we've seen tonight.
It really has been. He likes to drop it on the back foot of their left-handed hitter, and he likes to throw it in the same spot, but is very effective against righties. Now in a 3-1 count, normally calls for a fastball here.
Ball four and a good start to the bottom of the seventh. That is walk number 4 by Ross. Leadoff man aboard.
Now let's take a look at this walk ended up by Jay Bruce on our Mazda pitch by pitch. He's going to try to tease him with some soft stuff early in the count. And a good pitch to hit right there, but Bruce pulls off of it, fouls it off. Come inside with a fastball to set up something off speed, and Bruce a good layoff, as Jim said right there. And eventually ball 4.
All right, let's see if the Reds can move Bruce around and, as a bare minimum in this inning, get him across the plate to tie this thing up.
Well, Xavier Paul has hit the ball twice to the right side. But now with a runner at first base, you've got that right infield open a little bit. Maybe a ground ball can find its way right into this hole.
No action at all in the Padre pen. 87 pitches thrown thus far by Ross. Paul tonight 0 for 2. Great chance for him to break out. He's in a 1 for 15 drought here as of late. Mesoraco waiting on deck. And 2-0. Not much hitting in this game. The Reds about hit the Padres 3-2, but trailed 2-1. Gunning for, if they can get it, their 37th home win of the year.
Now the 2-0 count was the exact count that Shin-Soo Choo stole a base on back in the first inning. Maybe that's why they had Ross throw over right there on this 2-0 count to Xavier Paul.
And 3-0.
Boy, Buddy Black's got to be thinking right there, man, oh man, can I have that decision back, please? About letting Tyson Ross bat in the bottom, in the top of the inning with a runner at third base. I've got confidence in my youngster. I sent him back out there. He walks the leadoff hitter. Now he's in danger of walking the second hitter in the same inning.
High strike call there to Paul. Ross walked Bruce on 3-1. Now he's at 3-1 to Paul. Now there is action in the Padre bullpen. Their lone lefty is Colt Hines. He is up. It looks like Nick Vincent, right-hander, has joined it. There's a ball hit hard into right center field. Bruce turns. He's headed to third on a 3-1 pitch. Xavier Paul hit it hard to the outfield. First and third with nobody out.
Now, the second time in 2 at-bats that Xavier Paul has really stung the baseball. He gets a 3-0 fastball high. He gets a 3-1 in a similar spot, and he is just ready to rip. Jay Bruce scurries on to third base, and now the Reds with that tying run 90 feet away.
Walk to Bruce and a single by Paul. That pitch was, yeah, as you said, up and away, and he went up and yanked that thing. Here's Mesoraco.
You know, Tyson Ross looking for a strikeout right here. Padres will play the infield back looking for a double play ball. They'll give up the run.
They've turned 1 so far tonight. In the air to right. Denorfia getting himself into throwing position, makes the catch. Runner tags from first, going to second. Out at second base. Paul is tagged out by the shortstop, Forsythe, on a ball that was cut off, and they fired a second. End result, a double play.
Well, Paul was thinking that Jay Bruce was going to tag right there and that there would be a play at the plate. But when the ball is cut off, he leaves himself wide open. It's a close play at second base, but he's called out. And that is a killer right there. Boy, you go a long way to letting that pitcher get out of the inning when you run yourself out of it into an out like that. The Reds have not played a good fundamental baseball game tonight at all.
That goes 9-6, 9-3-6. And the out at second. Ross says, are you kidding me? I couldn't have asked for anything better than that. Now he gets Hanahan, and what a spot here for Hanahan to come up with a big hit. He's had a bad defensive night, 3 errors. A hit could tie things. Driven in 11 on the year. 2 of them, as Chris mentioned, in that game 1 week ago tonight against St. Louis. A 2-run first inning single against Jake Westbrook. The low hit here ties it. And he gets ahead 2-0, so he could conceivably get a pretty good pitch to hit right here. Boy, Denorfia got himself way behind that ball and was doing a dead sprint on to make the catch. Came up with a very good throw from right field. Toward the middle, cut off nicely by Forsythe, and he'll throw on to first. That's a heck of a play by Logan Forsythe, who's only making his 5th start of his career at shortstop here tonight.
Just not Hanahan's night tonight.
2 unearned Padre runs in the first inning, and that is still standing for Bud Black's team. They lead 2-1 going into the 8th, and Alfredo Simon, who's retired 6 of the 7 batters he has faced, the other reached on an error, back to the mound. Denorfia, representing the top of the Padres order, leads it off. Quickly down 2 strikes. 4 errors for the Reds tonight, a season high. Runner lost at second base on that tag. And the ball was cut off nicely by Alonso. Paul out at second on the fly ball to right by Mesoraco. A caught stealing by Phillips in the first inning. A couple of bad hops, Reds wise, good hops Padres wise. Nice defensive plays by San Diego, specifically from Jerko. Denorfia strikes out. And now Mesoraco throws it out in the left field. Wow. They'll take advantage of the Reds 4 for $48 ticket offer. Cheer on the Reds, and they take on the Brewers Friday, August the 23rd. Make sure you stick around then afterwards for a postgame fireworks show presented by Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. The tickets to see the Reds battle the Brewers Friday, August the 23rd. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to reds.com/tickets. So a strikeout of Denorfia, and now Dusty Baker is out, and that'll mean a pitching change for Cincinnati. In fact, it'll mean a double switch. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Here, Fox Sports 1 will be in your home for live sports shows like Crowd Goes Wild, Fox Football Daily, and Fox Sports Live, the news and highlight shows fans have been waiting for. America's news sports network, Fox Sports 1, premieres next Saturday, 1 week from today. Changes for the Reds in the double switch. Chris Heisey now in left field, batting ninth. He'll lead off the bottom of the 8th, and Manny Parr takes over on the mound.
Oh, what a great job by Alfredo Simon. 2 1/3 of no hit, no run baseball.
Parr in here to face the lefty Will Venable. Venable in the game is 1 for 3. Limited at bats, but he's hitting .289 against lefties this year. Venable. Lefties hitting just .151 against Parra. 1 man out here in the 8th. Parr did not work last night. Worked an inning and a third in the game Wednesday afternoon. did nice work. In fact, look at those numbers since June the 11th, a 0.48 ERA for Parra. That includes that stretch of 15 1/3 consecutive scoreless that was snapped against this Padres team for Manny Parra.
I mean, he really looks like a completely different pitcher now than he did in the beginning of the year. I mean, his body language is different. He would come in and he'd get knocked around a little bit, kind of slump his shoulders, the confidence would be gone, and little by little climbed out of that hole. He's always had very good stuff. We kept saying it over and over again, but he wasn't able to get hitters out consistently. Boy, he has been exactly what the doctor needed down in that bullpen with the absence of Sean Marshall.
Amazing how players step up when they are asked to and forced to in this situation. Nice story by John Fay in the Inquirer the other day regarding Parra, saying he completely dumped the curveball and it's been the slider that's really given him the confidence.
Sometimes, especially when you're a reliever, you have tried to complicate things too much with 2 breaking balls. It can backfire on you.
Bruce retreating near the wall. He's not going to get it. Home run, Will Venable. He homered here last night. He homers here against the left-hander Parra, and it's now a 2-run game at 3-1.
You're right about that slider. That was the slider that he hit, but he got it up. And you're also right about Venable being able to hit left-handers pretty well. He hangs right in there very nicely and just kind of flips the bat. That ball looked like it was going away from him, and he just has great plate coverage and pops it up and out of here.
So their first earned run of the night gives the Padres a 2-run lead again at 3-1 here in the top of the 8th. For Parra, the 5th home run he has given up. Only the 2nd by a left-hander. This is now Chase Headley. Barehand pick by Brandon and out at first base.
Yeah, Brandon figured that'd be the easiest way to make sure he didn't have to transfer the ball. It took too long, but he was also worried about the spin and the bounce that that ball was going to take. It had some backspin on it. You don't see too many ground balls that spin like that. Well, that's great concentration. If you watch his eyes, I mean, he's watching that ball go right into his hand. He does a lot of things flashy, but fundamentally sound.
Taking a look back at Manny Parra's log, the only lefty that has connected long against him was also in this ballpark, Carlos Gonzalez, back on the 5th of June. A little over 2 months ago. He gave up 2 home runs in that game on the 5th. One to Cargo and one to Troy Tulowitzki.
I think they were both the left field, if I can remember correctly. Silence means you're looking it up.
Let's see. Gonzalez was to right, but Tulowitzki was to left.
Okay.
Reds, who have stranded 4 in this game and still out hit the Padres 4-3, find themselves down by at least a pair when they bat in the bottom of the 8th. Boy, they need some big hits. Their best opportunity clearly was in the bottom of the 7th. 1st and 3rd, nobody out. Could not push a run across. They have 2 more opportunities, the 8th and the 9th. He got in there, and Guzman down on strikes to retire the side. But the Padres add 1 more and lead by a pair. Classic at Montero Casino Resort, benefiting the Reds Community Fund, coming up September the 8th and the 9th. Two-day event includes a Sunday night Jeff Ruby dinner, entertainment, and more than 50 celebrity guests, including former Reds players. More information, call 513-765-7240 or log on to Reds.com/MartyGolf. Changes for the Padres. There's the Hall of Famer.
He's getting all psyched up thinking about his team this year.
No less than a month from now. Padres make some changes. Denorfi has moved from right to left. Will Venable moves from center to right. Alexi Amarista is now the center fielder. Jesus Guzman is out of the game, and the new pitcher is Luke Gregerson.
Boy, the Reds got to feel that they really let Tyson Ross off the hook last inning. Luke Gregerson, boy, he's the workhorse of that Padre bullpen. 51 games now this year. And another good year for him. Boy, every time you look up at the end of the year and you look at Gregerson's number of appearances, he's up around between 70 and 80 appearances every season. That's a lot of warming up and coming into ball games when you're in half the team's games.
Tyson Ross goes 7. Allows 4 hits, 1 run, walked 4, 1 intentional, struck out 6. Heisey batting for the first time. Strikeout of Heisey is the first out of the inning. More Cardinal updates. So let's go back to L.A. for a Fox Sports 1 game break. We'll watch the rest of that game with interest. Cardinals up by a couple. Reds with their win last night. Cardinals with their loss. That means the Reds got within 2 of second place St. Louis. And to keep the momentum going here tonight as Chu pops up against Gregerson for out number 2. Now it's Cozart. Crowd tonight of 34,777. 34,777 here tonight. They want to see a Reds come from behind victory. Cozart tonight 0 for 3. Votto waits on deck.
And if you think that Luke Gregerson throws a lot of sliders out there, you're exactly right. In fact, he's got 3 different types of breaking balls that he throws, all of them sliders. And he throws it over 60% of the time. So his fastball is one of the rarest pitches that he'll use out there. Slider after slider. That one misses low.
Well, you never know when a rally might start. That's a 2-out walk to Cozart. Here comes Votto.
Well, he's got to be kicking himself right now for walking Zach Cozart. Right-handed hitter with Joey Votto in the on-deck circle.
hitless lifetime against Gregerson, 0 for 4. Love to get that first one right here.
The Padre defense is going to play him very deep, especially in right field. You got Will Venable really hugging the warning track out there because they don't want Votto to end up hitting a double right here. They really could care less about that runner at first base. They just don't want to put the tying run on in scoring position.
Chase that breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, when I say he has 3 sliders, I mean he has different. He's almost like Bronson Arroyo, the way Arroyo is with his curveball. Gregerson is with his slider. He has one that goes straight down, one that kind of goes sideways, and then 1 3/4. In fact, he throws his slider more than any other pitcher in baseball, with the exception of Sergio Romo.
Tyson Ross was as advertised tonight. We're told he'd been pitching very well, and indeed he turns in a good performance. 1 run in 7 innings. And now the Padre bullpen, which has been much better as of late than it was early. In the top third in the National League now. Tries to get the job done. Their closer is Houston Street. Can manage to hang on to the lead. He would be the man on the mound in the 9th. Votto's going to get a look at a 3-1 as the tying run here in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, that was the fastball right there to speed it up for Joey Votto. I'm not even sure what kind of pitch this is. It has kind of looks like a changeup that he throws Votto, and he throws it waist high in the inner part of the plate.
Well, he's worked the count full, and now the runner from first base goes out to be on the move. Alonso moves back behind him. There he goes, and there's strike 3 call.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Votto got ahead 3-1. Took strike 2. Take strike 3. The inning is over. We will head to the 9th. How about our Nissan drive of the game? Will Venable against Manny Parra. Took that slider, hit it into the second row, maybe the first row of the seats out there in the moon deck. His 15th homer of the year, his second in this series. Extended the Padre lead from 2-1 to 3-1. Our Nissan drive of the game. Boy, we wanted to have Votto hit one out, and that would have been our Nissan drive, but we'll wait for something bigger in the bottom of the ninth. Parr stays in the game. He'll get Alonso. Sam LeCure throwing in the bullpen. This would figure to be the last batter that the left-hander faces. Alonso in this game 0 for 3 in the series, nothing out of 7. Jammed him, but he drops it into left for a leadoff base hit. Here comes Dusty Baker out of the dugout. So with the right-hander Sam LeCure throwing. A number of right-handers coming up for San Diego. Dusty turns to the bullpen. Sam LeCure will enter. Manny Parra will exit this game. We'll come back with more baseball from Great American Ballpark right after this. John Merrill hot dog play of the game. He's had a nice night defensively. Look at this. Robs Votto. That was back in the first inning of a hit and an RBI. Diving to his right, a la Brandon Phillips. Makes the play there. Speaking of Phillips, how about this reaction on the ball hit by Brandon? Ricocheted to Jerko, who makes the play. 2 heads-up plays by Jed Jerko, our John Merrill hot dog plays of the game. Jerko bats against LeCure, runner on. Sam made his first appearance since that rough outing he had Sunday against St. Louis, this past Wednesday against Oakland. Faced one batter, struck him out, threw 4 pitches. This year he stranded 13 of 14 inherited base runners. Pretty good.
Now that's more than pretty good. That's about as good as you can get right there. Sam LeCure has always been very dependable. This year Sam throwing that curveball of his a lot more than he used to. And it's been a real good pitch for him. That was not the curveball right there. That last pitch, a little slider. That curve's got a big hump in it. He'll throw that in there as slow as in the 60s.
At the All-Star break, Reds players were asked Who off this club that is not on the All-Star team should be there? Remember, it was LeCure's name, and most of them mentioned he had such a good first half.
It's so rare, though, that you see a middle reliever ever selected to the All-Star game, even though oftentimes a middle relief is the lifeblood of that bullpen. And you've seen, if you watch your Reds every day, you've seen how much that bullpen has been anchored by Sam LeCure this year.
In fact, there was just one pitcher this year in the National League, Mark Melancon, who wasn't a closer or a starter, who was named to the All-Star team. Ironically enough, Melancon now is the closer of the Pirates. Jason Grilli on the DL.
There's the curveball.
Freezes Jerko, and he gets the first out here in the ninth.
You know, in a way, you see a lot of the same reaction from Sam LeCure's curveball that you do from Bronson Arroyo's curveball, from hitters who just kind of get locked up by it.
It's a good person to learn from, isn't it? What a game he threw here last night. Bronson Arroyo getting his 10th win. Reds would love a ground ball double play here. Logan Forsythe 0 for 3. He's hit into 2 of them this year. That home run ball by Venable was the first Padre hit since the first inning. That came in the 8th against Parra. They have the hit here by Alonso to start the 9th. Hit column is even at 4, but the Padres lead 3-1. Reds in their 9th inning. Phillips, Bruce, and a pinch hitter for LeCure. With Houston Street throwing in the San Diego bullpen.
I saw you hollering at Lacey Street earlier, man.
Another big curveball right there by Sam. And he's at 1-2. Nick Hundley waits on deck. Leadoff hit by Alonso to left. That came against Parra. LeCure came on, froze Jerko, struck him out. Gets ahead here of Forsythe. Going to keep it a 3-1 Padres game heading into the bottom of the 9th. That's the task of one Sam LeCure. Big news out of St. Louis. Top of the 8th inning. The Cubs have come up with a couple and are still batting. That game is now 4-4 at St. Louis. 2 RBI double by Darwin Barney has tied that game. Gold Glover from a year ago. Full count. Forsythe stays alive with a foul ball. Now the Cubs have continued to attack. Deanna Navarro, the former Red, doubles home Barney. And the Cubs come off the mat to take a 5-4 lead. That game is in the top of the 8th.
Stunning what is likely a full house there at Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
And against the hard throwing and very capable Trevor Rosenthal. Cubs won last night there 3-0. Come back now tonight to take at least a 5-4 lead. Keep you posted on that one. Ball 4 on the 3-2 pitch, again with a runner going. Forsythe draws the walk. Only the third given up by Reds pitching tonight. Here's Nick Hundley. He's 0 for 3 and 0 for his last 18. Hundley has hit into 4 double plays this year. Single, a strikeout, a walk, 2 on with 1 out. Houston Street ready in the Padres bullpen. Right now it's a save situation. Padres hope to extend their lead. Nine spot is next, but remember the Padres made a double switch, so Alexi Amarista out of the 9 spot is on deck. Amarista started in center field last night.
Boy, good looking pitch right there. He just feathers that little 2-seam fastball on the outside corner, seemingly at will. Well, you watch Sam LeCure throughout his delivery. He keeps his head so still. Stays right behind the baseball.
Got him to chase it.
Well, you set him up and then you knock him down. Back-to-back fastballs right on the outside corner sets up an opportunity to expand the strike zone. And LeCure snaps off a good one right here.
The 2 out now. And it'll be Alexi Amarista, straight left-handed hitter. Came in the game last inning to take over in center. Meeting on the mound between Mesoraco, LeCure, Cozart. Amarista at 262. 5 long ones. He's driven in 25. Hitless last night, 0 for 4. Snapping a 6-game hitting streak. Two on, 2 out. 3-1 Padres, 9th inning. First pitch swinging, fly ball. Bruce and Chu. Chu makes the catch. Nice work by Sam LeCure. Sets the stage for Houston Street in the bottom of the ninth. As Dusty likes to call it, some action here in the bottom of the ninth inning. They trail 3-1. Houston Street comes on as the third San Diego pitcher. He's their closer.
The first pitcher of the night, Tyson Ross, was a young man that was originally drafted by the Oakland A's, and ditto that for their closer. They hope he'd be the last pitcher in this ball game. Houston Street already 38 games. He's got 21 saves. He had 23 last year. And he has saved as many as 37 in a particular season. That was back in 2006 when he was the closer for the Oakland A's. 222 in his major league career.
He'll try to make it 223 here tonight. Meanwhile, how about walk-off wins through August the 9th of this year in the big league since 1918 in all of baseball. 166 of them this year. You're looking at this year breaking the record since 1918. Reds have 8 of them this year. They'd love to make number 9 right here. Houston Street. The only blown save he has had this year came way back on May the 11th against Tampa Bay when he gave up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Since then, 12 straight saves and 12 opportunities. Last 5 times out there he's picked up a save. The 30-year-old gets Brandon Phillips to start the bottom of the ninth. Good recover as he falls off toward the third base side, but got back over there and made the play.
Well, that ball looked like it was destined to go right back through the middle, maybe for a leadoff base hit on the first pitch of the inning.
Take a look at our Miller Time moment of the night. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Maybe the biggest play of this game if the Reds don't win it. First and third, nobody out. Mesoraco's fly ball to right. Caught by DeNorfia. Cut off by Alonso. Give it to Forsythe. They get Paul at second. That's a former Red DeNorfia. Cut off by the former Red Alonso. And getting Paul with a double play. Hanahan grounded out. That ended that beautiful scoring chance for the Reds in the bottom of the 7th. Now it's Bruce. A home run by Venable in the 8th means a long ball will not tie things. Jay tonight 0 for 1 with a couple of walks. One of those intentional. Todd Frazier on deck to bat for LeCure. 3 pitches and Jay strikes out. So 2 men out, nobody on.
Yeah, he had him sped up, slowed down, and then sped up again. And that's what Houston Street does more than anything else. He changes speeds extremely well. He only throws his fastball almost 50% of the time. Everything else is a slider or a changeup. Odd thing about that Padre bullpen is you get deeper into the bullpen, the slower the pitchers are. And that's exactly in reverse of what most teams are doing nowadays. The deeper you get in the pen, normally, the harder they throw.
So Frazier bats for LeCure, representing the last chance for the Redlegs. He broke that 0-for-31 drought with a double in the first inning last night. Todd comes into this game hitting .236 with 10 homers, 49 RBIs, 2 for 5 as a pinch hitter this season. Frazier twice has faced Street in his career, both times struck out. As Araujo waits on deck, should Frazier keep it going? If the Padres hang on, the rubber game of this series will be tomorrow afternoon. Cardinals batting now in the bottom of the 8th. 3-run outburst by Chicago in the top half has given them a 5-4 lead. Meanwhile, they are now finally underway in Colorado, the Pirates and the Rockies, after almost a 2-hour rain delay out there in Denver. A.J. Burnett pitching in that game for the Pirates tonight against Juan Nicasio of the Rockies. Pittsburgh, the first place team in the NL Central. But they no longer, thanks to the Braves, have the best record in baseball. Atlanta's 14-game winning streak means they have the best mark. They are scoreless in the 6th inning at home against Miami. Speaking of Atlanta. Tomorrow afternoon, Mike Leake, 10-game winner, goes for the Reds against Ian Kennedy, who will be making just his 2nd start as a Padre after that July 31st trade with Arizona. Ironically enough, he came back. First game he pitched was against the team that drafted him, the Yankees. He got the win in that game. Ball 3.
Street got ahead of Todd Frazier and just tried to pick away off the corner, figuring that Todd Frazier is going to just continue to chase and expand that zone. He only did it one time, but he was able to foul the ball off. I imagine he's going right back out there again.
Struck him out, and the game is over. And the Padres use 2 unearned first-inning runs and hang on to defeat the Reds here on this Saturday night before over 34,000. Final score here at Great American Ballpark: Padres 3 and the Reds 1. And so tomorrow, the rubber game of this 3-game series. Reds Live post game presented by Kings Honda next.